Sony's Summer Game Fest and Days of Play sales are live right now, and I went through everything to pull out the biggest AAA titles with the best discounts. We are talking massive games from the biggest publishers, some of them at prices that genuinely make no sense. Okay, I am starting with Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition, 60% off for $16. One of the most content-rich open-world RPGs ever made, and the Game of the Year Edition packs in all the Deluxe, including Far Harbor, which is genuinely one of the best pieces of Fallout content ever created. You are searching a post-apocalyptic Boston for your missing son, and the world is absolutely massive and full of things. $16 for the complete package of one of the most played games of the last decade is just tremendous value. Then we got Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe Edition, 80% off for $16. The looter shooter formula that Borderlands invented, done at its biggest and most polished. Billions of procedurally generated guns, 4 playable vault hunters with wildly different playstyle, and a massive campaign, plus every single DLC pack in the Super Deluxe Edition. The humor is hit or miss depending on your tolerance for it, but the gameplay loop of shooting things and collecting loot is as satisfying as it has ever been. Then we got Battlefield 2042, 80% off for $14. This game had one of the roughest launches in recent memory, but the team spent years patching and improving it, and where it is today is significantly better than what shipped at launch. The massive scale battles are still spectacular, the maps have been reworked, and at $14 there is genuinely a huge amount of content to enjoy here. Go in knowing what it is and managing your expectations, and you will have a good time. Then we got A Plague Tale Requiem, 65% off for $21. This is the big budget sequel to Innocence, and it is more ambitious in every direction. The visuals are some of the best on PS5 full stop. The story of Amisha and Hugo continues in genuinely heartbreaking direction, and the rat swarms are on a completely different scale. If you played Innocence, this is a must. Even if you did not, $21 for one of the most visually stunning narrative games on PlayStation right now is just a great deal. And if you want to get the best experience, I'd suggest you start with A Plague Tale Innocence, 75% off for $10. This is the game that launched one of the most emotionally powerful series in recent memory. You are a young noblewoman protecting her little brother through plague-ravaged medieval France, and the bond between these two characters is what makes the whole thing work. The rat swarm mechanics are genuinely terrifying, and the story just keeps escalating. Then we got Alone in the Dark, 50% off for $20. The 2024 reimagining of the survival horror classic featuring David Harbour and Jodie Comer. The atmosphere is genuinely creepy. The setting of Dorsetto Manor in 1920s Louisiana is dripping with dread, and having two protagonists with different perspectives on the same story gives you a real reason to play through twice. The combat is a bit rough around the edges, but the horror and storytelling. Then we got Alan Wake Remastered, 85% off for $4.49. I am putting this one here because if you are buying Alan Wake 2, you should grab this first. The story of a writer whose fiction comes to life in a small Pacific Northwest town is genuinely gripping, and playing the original makes the sequel so much richer. This remaster holds up really well, and $4.50 for it is just absurd. Grab this one and then go straight into the next entry. And immediately after that, grab Alan Wake 2 Deluxe Edition, 70% off for $24. You are already picking up the remastered for $4.50, so together, that is still under $30 for one of the most complete and ambitious AAA narrative experiences in gaming right now. Remedy went completely off the deep end in the best possible way with this one. 2 interconnected stories, live action sequences, a genuinely mind-bending narrative, and some of the most impressive visuals on PS5. The Deluxe Edition includes all the additional content. Then, we got Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, 60% off for $24. This is the Don't Nod RPG that flew completely under the radar, and it genuinely deserves way more attention than it got. You are a pair of ghost hunters in 17th century New England, investigating hauntings and making moral decisions about the lives of the people you encounter. The dual character system, where you swap between the living and spectral partners in combat, is really inventive and the writing is some of the best in any action RPG from that year. Then we got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Cross-Gen Bundle, 60% off for $28. Now 60% off is on the modest side for a COD title, but Modern Warfare 3 includes full access to the Warzone ecosystem and multiplayer, which still has one of the largest active player bases in gaming. The campaign is the weakest part of this package honestly, but if you are a Warzone player or want a full featured multiplayer COD experience, $28 for the cross-gen bundle covering both PS4 and PS5 is a reasonable pickup. Then we got Atomfall Complete Edition, 60% off for $36. Yes, this is the most expensive game on this list, and yes, it is still absolutely worth including. Atomfall is one of the most interesting and genuinely original games of 2025. It is a British open-world survival RPG set in an alternate history version of post-Windscale nuclear disaster England, and the atmosphere, writing, and world design are just fantastic. The Complete Edition gives you everything. If the premise grabs you at all, this is worth it. And then we got Clair Obscur Expedition 33, 25% off for $37.49. 25% is the smallest discount on this entire list, and this is the most expensive game here by a margin. But this is Clair Obscur. This game came out of nowhere from a small French studio and has been one of the most talked about and celebrated RPGs in years. The turn-based combat with real-time action elements is genuinely brilliant, the world is unlike anything else in the genre, and the story is moving in ways that are hard to put into words. If you have been waiting for a sale, this is the one. Then we got Sifu, 75% off for $10. One of the most action-packed and satisfying games in years for $10. You are a kung fu student hunting down the people who murdered your family, and every time you die, you come back older, stronger, but closer to a permanent death. The combat is deeply skill-based and incredibly rewarding to master. The art direction is gorgeous, and the whole thing feels unlike anything else out there. Then we got Insurgency Sandstorm, also 75% off for $10. This is one of the most grounded and intense tactical shooters available on console, and it has been sitting under the radar for years. No kill streaks, no gadget nonsense, just realistic gunfights where every bullet matters and communication with your team is everything. If you want a shooter that takes itself seriously and rewards patience, $10 for this is a great deal. Then we got Memoir Blue, 65% off for $2.79. Just $2.79. One of the most quietly beautiful narrative experiences on PlayStation for under $3. This is a short interactive poem about an Olympic swimmer reflecting on her relationship with her mother, and it is the kind of game that just sits with you long after you finish it. The visuals are genuinely stunning, and the whole thing is maybe an hour and a half. Then we got Lords of the Fallen Deluxe Edition, 75% off for $10. This is the 2023 reimagining of the original game, and it is one of the most visually impressive Souls-like games ever made. The dual world mechanic where you can shift between the living world and the realm of the dead to solve puzzles and find paths is genuinely brilliant. The Deluxe Edition includes all additional content, and that is the biggest triple titles on sale right now in both PSN sales. We got some of the most recognizable names in gaming, all of them heavily discounted. Plenty more deals out there, so let me know what you want to see next.